Hey guys, it's Shay. Welcome back and thank you for watching. Today's video is going to be a bring your own palette video, but it kind of has a little bit of a twist of it. I am going to be making a custom Fantasy Cosmetica palette, but specifically inspired by the dragon Dreamfyre from the A Song of Ice and Fire series. I am a huge A Song of Ice and Fire series fan. Love House of the Dragon, Game of Thrones, past season 5-ish had issues, but generally speaking, I love the actual books and pretty much most of the lore that goes with those books. And I was kind of flipping through my Fantasy Cosmetica stash, and I was just starting to think about, like, wow, really? Like, fantasy themed makeup? Aside from that, I also recently picked up the Cradled in Ice palette. It's absolutely stunning. This is kind of an ice dragon themed palette and it's really inspired me. I kind of want to do several of these, but I'm going to start with Dreamfyre just because I feel like I have to. This palette specifically, since it's dragon themed and it's blue. So that's what we're going to be doing today, making a Dreamfyre the Dragon inspired palette using only Fantasy Cosmetica. If you did not know, Fantasy Cosmetica palettes are magnetic, which is really nice because I feel like you get like quadruple the fun because you can pop them out and rearrange them. I have labeled all of these so I can always put them back in the original format that they came in, but that's kind of the game plan for today. So I think the way that I want to get started with this is actually just reading the description of Dreamfyre. So Dreamfyre was one of the dragons that was, I guess, part of House Targaryen when they ruled over the Seven Kingdoms. It was Rhaena's dragon, who initially had been married to Maegor the Cruel, and she has kind of a sad, tragic story, but her dragon Dreamfyre in the books is described as being a slender she-dragon. Her coloration was primarily pale blue with silver markings. I feel like this palette is already almost kind of halfway there, but I really want to take it full there. She had silver crests and pale blue wings, and then Rhaena started flying on Dreamfyre when she was only 12 years old. And if you are just a show watcher of House of the Dragon, this isn't Rhaena from House of the Dragon. That's actually, I can't remember, I think it's the second Rhaena, because there's 3 Rhaenas, I believe, and I think one of the other ones became a septa. So there's original Rhaena, who was an elder sister to King Jaehaerys, and then there is Rhaena, one of the dragon twins. Her twin would be Bela from the actual House of the Dragon series. A fun fact is that Helena in House of the Dragon is the second writer to ever claim Dreamfyre. So Dreamfyre is still around in the show. We think it's the dragon that is shown when young Aemond goes down into the dragon pit to try to see the dragons, and there's one that kind of breathes fire at him. It's kind of speculated within the A Song of Ice and Fire online community that Dreamfyre is the mother of Daenerys' 3 dragons in the events of A Game of Thrones. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and get started and not bore you with more lore behind House of the Dragon and the A Song of Ice and Fire series. But I think what I'll start with, I'm going to completely empty out this palette. I know this is the one that I would like the Dreamfyre palette to finally go up in, so I'll be choosing 12 shades. But I'm going to empty this out, keep any of the colors that I feel like go really well with Dreamfyre's color scheme, and then I'm also going to speed through the process of just kind of taking out any shades in any of these palettes that I feel also go really well with Dreamfyre's coloring. So this is kind of the fun fast forward part of the video where you get to see me take all of those out. I'm going to go ahead and speed through that, but you can watch if you like. Enjoy. Okay, so I've gone through all of my Fantasy Cosmetica palettes, and this is kind of what I have come forward with. And I think primarily I am going to try to stick to almost pastels for this particular palette, just because she is described as being primarily pale blue with silver markings. So just kind of off the bat, I think probably what I'm going to want to do is pull the colors that I know really probably should be in here that fit really well, which just overall pale silver, definitely I think this one. This is Curiosity. This is from the Wizard palette by Fantasy Cosmetica. And then this silver, I feel like just has to go in there. This is from the Enchanted Autumn Palette. This is Libra. This is probably one of my favorite shades in the Enchanted Autumn Palette, just because it is so impactful. So definitely that. And then when they say pale, kind of like that icy blue almost is kind of what I'm thinking. So I think this one needs to be in here too. This is Conjuration from the Wizard palette. So I've kind of got 3 here that I know I would like in there. And then I think I just kind of build outward from here. I feel like I would like this palette to have at least a little bit of depth, which means I am probably going to be picking at least this blue, I would imagine. So this is Glacial from the Cradled in Ice palette. I feel like this is a more purple leaning blue, but I do feel like it still looks really nice with that small collection there. I also want some variations on silver, I think. So in terms of like, just because when I think of dragons, I think of scales, and scales often are so kind of iridescent and shifty. So Treasure from the Cradled in Ice palette also feels to me like it should be in there. This silver, I feel like leans more blue versus this one. It still feels silver, but there's almost like a little bit of a lavender flip to it. And then I'm thinking maybe something that would help me would be to kind of get rid of the darker ones where it's kind of like that blue purple. So I'm gonna swatch a few of these. This is Immortality from Harvest of Souls, and that is a very light swatch. So that, I feel like it's picking up as like a blue on camera, but in person it's like a purplish blue. I don't know if I would call it a duochrome. I think that's what it is, but I feel like because it leans more purple, I can probably set that one aside. And then I'm just gonna kind of do process of elimination that way. So next is Divination. And this is more of kind of like a glittery topper shade. It looks similar on camera, but in person it's a little less impactful than the other one. It's still pretty sparkly. I feel like it leans more blue, but it's still got that purple glitter to it, so I think that one I can set aside as well. Let's try this Gunmetal shade. This is Offering from the Warlock palette. One thing about me is I love a good gunmetal shade. The coolness of them really kind of gets me. That definitely feels silver blue, so I think I'm going to keep that one tentatively in there for right now. In terms of this color, I feel like I need a gray matte, so this is Cavalier from the Fighter palette. I am going to swatch all of the shades that I keep at the end too, so if I don't swatch them as we go, like I promise I'll swatch them at the end. But I feel like that's definitely kind of a silvery color. And then let's try this. This is Glory from the Fighter palette. I'm going to swatch this one. Ooh. Okay, so that's kind of like a topper shade. You can kind of see as it shimmers. It's very icy. It does have a little bit of almost like a pink base that is barely detectable. I kind of like that. I kind of want to keep that. I think I also, just kind of looking at this, I feel like I could go more in the teal direction too, just because icy feels really open to me. But also icy can sometimes mean that it's more cool toned. Let's try swatching this. This is Blade from the Fighter palette. That's super pretty. That's kind of your classic like silver, like, but there's a little bit of like a blue, I feel like, in there. I like that one. Let's maybe keep that one. I feel like black doesn't fit the vibe, so I'm gonna table that one. This one looks really pink to me. This is Frost from Cradled in Ice. So you can kind of see there. That's super pretty though. I feel like that one looks pink in the pan, but once it's actually swatched, it's not. That one's a maybe. I'm gonna set that one over yonder because it's a maybe. I need a blue mid transition. This feels the iciest to me, but I'm worried that that's too light, similar to that. So this is Incantation from the Wizard palette. I think I'm going to table this one and keep Frozen from Cradled and Ice. Again, I feel like this being a dragon themed palette, I don't know, the dragon on the cover art is kind of like a purpley blue. This is too close. This is Telepathy from the Wizard palette. This is too close to this one. So I'm going to table or put that one aside. Let's see. Let's try the Sneak Attack from the Rogue palette. Just swatching that really quick. Oh, okay. So that's super gorgeous shade, but it definitely is more purple. So I'm gonna set that one aside. Let's try Embrace from Cradled and Ice. Ooh, that's really pretty. It's like a smoky kind of lavender gray. I do feel like it's more purple though, so I'll set that one aside as well. Let's try Deception from the Rogue palette. Ooh, that's pretty. So that's the top one there. In person, this is catching green on the light. I don't know if that's gonna pick up on camera, but I feel like because it's catching green, it must be a blue to kind of green flip. I'm gonna set that one aside. Swatch Souls from Harvest of Souls. I'll swatch that one at the top. Okay. Oh, that's so pretty. Okay, I don't know if that is picking up on camera as it is in person at all. It's this one right here at the very top. In person, it's catching very like pink to blue shift, which I kind of love. I feel like that definitely gets a maybe from me. I'm trying to keep it very true to what the dragon is supposed to be, which is hard when you're someone who loves pink. Let's try swatching this. This is Snuggle from Cradled and Ice. That one definitely is more pink, so I'm gonna set that one aside. We're getting down to it. Something I'm really feeling is just like depth, but I feel like if I'm doing depth, it should be in a darker color, like a gray, a darker gray, rather than a blue, just because when I think icy blue, probably not getting this dark. So I think gray is probably what I'll go with. This is Heron from Enchanted Autumn. I feel like that fits really nicely, which means I can get these mattes out of the picture. And then I'm kind of left with just a handful here, so maybe if I swatch them that will help. So Legend from the Bard palette. That is super gorgeous, but it definitely, on camera it looks blue, but it's definitely blue-purple, so I'll set that one aside. And then let's try, this is Eternal from the Harvest of Souls palette. Oh. Okay, so it's this one right here. That is so pretty. It's like a gunmetal, but it's got just the tiniest bit of warmth to it, and then I feel like there's a little bit of a slightly pink shift if you look at it at just the right angle. I love that. Okay, so I've got 12, and then I've got 2 maybes, and then I've got these mattes left. I feel like the mattes are kind of dependent on which shimmers that I keep, because if I'm doing one of these two, they definitely have a little bit more of like a pink lavender sparkle at some angles, so I'm thinking maybe I'll swatch all of the shimmers together and then kind of make my decision. Okay, so those are the maybe mattes. These are the definitely mattes as far as I'm aware right now. I feel like that definitely feels like Dreamfire to me, that row. But then all of the shimmers, I'm going to, let's do these ones first and then I'll do these ones and see where I think we're at. So this first one is Conjuration from the Wizard palette. Yep, that's classic Dreamfire. That's not even a question of if it's going to be in there or not, in my opinion. Next is Libra from Enchanted Autumn. Also gorgeous. I feel like that one's not a question of if it's going to be in there or not. It's just it's going in there. Next we've got Glory from the Fighter palette. Okay, so that would be the third one down there. Super pretty. And then this is Offering from the Warlock palette. Kind of see, it's the darker one. Next is Treasure from Cradled in Ice. Gosh, I just love Fantasy Cosmetica shimmers. Eternal from the Harvest of Souls palette. Next is Blade from the Fighter palette. It's a great name for an eyeshadow. So it's the bottom one. It's definitely more blue toned, which I love. And then last we've got Frost from the Cradled in Ice palette. Now that I swatched that, it definitely looks in person more pink against the other shades. And then Souls from the Harvest of Souls palette. And this one is kind of looking more purpley blue shift next to these other shades. So it's kind of the bottom one. I feel like in the monitor here it definitely looks more icy blue, but in person it's getting kind of that lavender undertone. So I think these two I'm gonna pass on. And then we'll keep the original, I think this is 1210, yep, 12. And then now I just kind of have to figure out like what's my layout, and based on these swatches aside from the bottom two, which undertone of mattes do I want? I feel like I can pretty confidently and safely get rid of this Patience from the Harvest of Souls just because it's more of like a purpley matte. In terms of the rest of these, I don't really know. Maybe I should swatch all of the mattes that I have in my row currently that to me felt very Dreamfire, and then I'll swatch those three and just kind of decide from there. And I'm kind of gonna swatch them so that they're like going around the whole little line of swatches that I have. I love Fantasy Cosmetica's mattes too, they're just really nice. Okay, so there are the mattes in my initial row. This is really just down to being all about undertone. And then I'm gonna swatch, actually I should swatch these towards the top, let's see. So that is Stealth from the Rogue palette right at the top here. Then we have Foggy from the Enchanted Autumn palette. Swatch that definitely, I think, looks a little more, almost like it's a pink. So I think I can set that one aside. And then last is Phylactery from the Harvest of Souls palette. Ooh, that's pretty. Okay. Decisions. I feel like for symmetry, let me arrange this in a way that makes sense. So in my brain, I feel very strongly about this particular combination of mattes. And then I feel like this one's kind of the odd one out because I don't really want to, I guess, kind of go against, I don't know, this just feels a little more like warm gray to me now, if that makes sense. And if I'm going for icy, I feel like I want to table that one over here. So I think these are my mattes. I'm pretty happy with that, honestly. And then now it's just kind of a matter of I've got to cut a shimmer, so to speak. And just kind of looking at this, I feel, let me swatch these again. It's hard to remember which one is which once you've got them on like this. So the one I just did on my hand there is Glory from the Fighter palette. And then Treasure from Cradled in Ice is the other one that I just feel like is more pink. But this one is more neutral pink, so I think I'm going to get rid of this one. So Glory from Fighter is out. Okay, so I've got my shades. I'm going to go ahead and swipe off my arm, and then we'll kind of arrange these. I don't know if maybe I want to do kind of something like that, where it's like the shimmers are in the center. Yeah, I think I like it. Yeah, I think I like it a lot. Okay, let's put it in there. So before I put it in there, I just want to read off the shade names. So I've got Curiosity from the Wizard palette, Conjuration from the Wizard palette, Treasure from Cradled in Ice, Cavalier from the Fighter palette, Stealth from the Rogue palette, Libra from Enchanted Autumn, Eternal from the Harvest of Souls palette, Frozen from Cradled in Ice, Phylactery from Harvest of Souls, Offering from the Warlock Palette, Blade from the Fighter Palette, and then Glacial from Cradled in Ice. Pop those in here. Okay, so I think this is the Dreamfire palette. I'm super stoked about this. I am now going to just kind of swatch my way through these officially on my arm now that they're kind of in order, and we'll go from there. Okay, we've got our swatches. I literally could not be happier with how this turned out. I am so excited. It does remind me quite a bit of the recent Bella Beauté Bar palette, the collaboration, The Realm of Fairies palette. Definitely I can see like they're similar. I do think this has a little bit more silver and a little bit more, I guess, like a mixture of like leaning one way versus leaning the other way, warm versus cool. I love the way that this turned out. I cannot wait to use this. I think it's gonna be such a great palette for me. I don't anticipate me taking this apart anytime soon, but I'll kind of just show you swatches a little bit closer. I just feel like the shimmers are so impactful. And then that dark teal matte is gonna just be just lovely to play with. And I think an all matte look with this would also just be gorgeous. But well, I think that about wraps it up for this fun little video where I create a color story around a fictional dragon. I hope you enjoyed watching. If you did, you can go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. You can also subscribe to see more videos like it in the future. I do a lot of custom bring your own palette videos here on YouTube, so if you like that, go ahead and check that out. I've got a playlist linked in the description box down below. But other than that is all I have to say today. Thank you so much for hanging out, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!